Hey guys, this is Jason, and today I am reviewing Season 3 of The Mandalorian. And it once again focuses on Mando, or as people call him now, Din Djarin, and little baby Grogu help him re-earn his rank of the Mandalorian after his events in Season 2. And Bo-Katan, once again played by Katie Sackoff after Season 2, decides to help them on their journey to restore their home planet, Mandalore. Now, if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, then you already know that I have two Mandalorian posters behind me. One of them is from Season 1, and the other one above it is from Season 2, and that should tell you that I'm already a fan of this show. I love the first season and the second season. I think The Mandalorian is one of the best things to come out of the Star Wars lore, and of course, I'm a fan of Star Wars as well. I've enjoyed a few of the Star Wars shows, like I do like Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, and I watched Tales of the Jedi recently, and I surprisingly enjoyed that one. Haven't gotten to The Bad Batch or Andor yet. I'm still gonna check those out pretty soon. Book of Boba Fett was fine. I do like Visions. I am looking forward to Season 2, and I do also really like the Star Wars Clone Wars micro-series from the early 2000s. Not a lot of people talk about that one. Please watch it if you haven't. All of it is on Disney Plus right now, just like the CG Clone Wars series is. So of course, I was excited to watch Season 3, and what did I think about it? Well, it's fine. It's decent. Okay, this season was kind of a letdown for me, and I apologize. I am gonna disappoint you on how I feel about the film, because you probably clicked on this review expecting me to praise it and love every episode of it and say it's a fun season. I mean, it's got fun parts, that's for sure, but this season was kind of the weakest season of the show for me. Now look, I know I just disappointed you guys with how I'm feeling about this show, but let me talk about the stuff that I liked first. Like, first off, Pedro Pascal is still really good as Din Djarin. He's stoic when he needs to be, when he's talking to other Mandalorians and other people, and he's kind of a dad figure to Grogu now, because when he sees Grogu get himself into something silly or ridiculous, he just makes a dad joke at him like, well, now that's using your head. And almost every scene with Grogu is still adorable to see. I mean, how could you not look at Grogu and be delighted every time he comes on screen? And he's still fun to watch, and he becomes a little more fun to watch when he uses this device that happens later in the season. I won't spoil what it is, just in case if you haven't watched it yet. I still like Katie Sackoff as Bo-Katan, and without giving anything away, she does do a lot more this time around, and she does at times take the spotlight from Din Djarin. And as for me, I do like the fact that she does become his new partner. For me, the best episode of this season was episode 7. It's intense, gripping, and it does get you to care about both Din Djarin, Bo-Katan, Grogu, and the rest of the Mandalorians throughout this episode after a big moment happens in the last few minutes. And episode 8 is very action-packed, and it never slows down until the very end after it wraps everything up. It felt like the show was finally picking up after episode 6, which I'll talk more about that in a second. And that's pretty much where my positives end for me, unfortunately. Now let's talk about my issues. And the first one I'm going to mention is that this season doesn't feel like it has a full, clear story to focus on, other than trying to restore Mandalore, but it also focuses on other subplots throughout the show that aren't explained afterwards. They're just there to progress the plot, and then once they're done, they're never mentioned in the show again for some reason. Like, for instance, Din Djarin at the start is trying to earn his rank to being the Mandalorian again after the events of Season 2, which, spoilers by the way, just in case if you haven't watched the entire show yourself, I am gonna unfortunately spoil the ending of Season 2 of The Mandalorian. That's your warning, so watch out for spoilers here. Like, in the end of season 2, he takes off his helmet in front of Grogu right before he decides to give him to Luke Skywalker to make more Jedi. And in the book of Boba Fett, he confesses to the other Mandalorians that he took off his helmet in front of Grogu because it's illegal for Mandalorians to take their helmets off in front of people, and he loses his rank as a Mandalorian. And in this season, he has to go through this task to get his rank back, and once that task is done, he gets his rank back. And this doesn't happen in the very end of this season. Like, it happens fairly early on. Like, I think in the second or third episode, like, they just get all that done, and it's never mentioned in the show again after that. Like, I would have liked if this season was just the entire task of him trying to get his rank back, and that would have made it more interesting. I mean, you can still focus on him trying to restore Mandalore with Bo-Katan, but you should have also shown him throughout this season try to get his rank back, because it's just tossed aside after the first 3 episodes. Now, here's the frustrating part about this show, is that it does have some good ideas, like rogue droids around his planet and Mandalorians trying to restore Mandalore. Like, those are very interesting ideas that you can get behind and you want to learn more about them, but they're poorly executed ideas. Like, for one, episode 3 has a story that's similar to the 3rd episode of The Last of Us, that focuses on the character that we've never seen before and him explaining what his life has been like after the Empire fell. It's an interesting story, sure, but it doesn't really do anything for the rest of the season. It's just there for some reason, and it's never brought up again after that, and it doesn't really connect to the main story except for one character that would often appear after that. Now let's talk about the 6th episode, which for me is the worst episode of this season. It, again, focuses on rogue droids killing people, and Bo-Katan and Din Djarin have to figure out who's behind it. It is a very interesting story that does get you curious about how this is going on, but most of that is ruined with a ton of exposition, and it only needed like 2 scenes of exposition, not like a whole lot to fill up the episode. Like, it really didn't need to be there. It was just there for filler. Now, I get that some TV shows need episodes that are just filler episodes that would give the audience a break from the main story that they're watching and just have some fun. I get it. I do expect to see that happen in The Mandalorian. This show has had those episodes before. But this didn't really work for me, and it didn't get me engaged with the main story because of that exposition dump. And another thing about this episode is that it has some brief cameos from famous people that really did kind of feel distracting. And I get that this show also had some cameos before, like season 2 had Timothy Olyphant and Michael Biehn from Aliens and Terminator, so this show did have a reason to have those cameos in the show. I mean, if you've seen season 2 of The Mandalorian, then you already know what those reasons were. But in this season, there were a couple of cameos in this season that were cool, but they didn't feel like they needed to be there. Like, it didn't just feel like Star Wars to me. It felt like it was just, hey, that actor's cool to see in The Mandalorian. Like, it didn't really too much. It was just eye candy for the audience. And there's also a twist in the end of this episode that I saw coming a mile away, and it really didn't surprise me at all. I mean, if you heard me mention a twist, then you probably already rolled your eyes, because these kind of twists have been done so many times before this. Now, I just want to end this review by saying that I didn't hate this season. I don't think it's terrible. It has some cool moments. Like, I still like Pedro Pascal as Din Djarin. I still like Katie Sackoff as Bo-Katan. I still think she's an interesting character. I still like little Grogu. It has some pretty good action sequences, and even though Ludwig Göransson didn't come back to do the score for this one like he did with seasons 1 and 2, the score is still pretty good here, and I do wish they do bring him back for season 4 because his score for the first 2 seasons of the show were just great. But the story still feels messy and jumbled with a few good episodes and some bad episodes too. If you like this season and don't mind that many subplots in one season, then I'm glad you enjoyed it. Don't listen to what I'm saying about this show. If you love this season, then enjoy it for what it is. Keep your opinion that way. Don't let my opinion on this season ruin yours. Just keep it as it is. For a great Star Wars season that I've loved for a few years ever since it first aired on Disney Plus, I expected more out of it. The Mandalorian Season 3 gets a C+. Trust me, I'm disappointed to say that, and I'm hoping that Season 4 is better, that they have a more contained and focused story for Din Djarin and Grogu, and have the characters connect with that story, and still have some filler, of course, and have it feel like it's one show instead of it just feeling like a mess. Now again, I know that maybe there are people that do love this season more than me. This is just my opinion on the season, so feel free to disagree with me if you want. And now that I'm done reviewing TV shows for now, I am gonna go back to reviewing movies, at least ones I can find on streaming, because I am still keeping this channel mostly movie review related, so I am gonna probably watch and review Peter Pan and Wendy when that comes on Disney Plus. Not looking forward to that one though. So stay tuned for that. And if you did watch season 3 of The Mandalorian, what did you think about it? Did you love it more than me and say it's a great season? Or did you think this season was boring and dull and maybe hated it more than me because I gave this review a C+, so maybe you hated it more than me? Let me know how you feel about it in the comments below. And as always, if you like this review, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.